Thank you for listening to Permission Granted. I'm your host, Juliet Ricci-Legman. Today on the pod, we have Jocelyn Lindsay. She is a book coach and a fantasy author. And welcome, Jocelyn.
Hi, thank you. It's so nice to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this conversation.
We'll see if we're still here in a week talking, right?
Yes,
We'll
we probably will be. Oh my gosh, DoorDash, everything.
Yes.
Um, just tell me about yourself.
That sounds so simple. Um, tell you about myself. Well, I'm a book coach, like you said. I've been a book coach officially for just about the last 6 years, but I've been working with writers, for 10. I've had my own business for 6 now.
Mm.
I've been around writing forever. And last year I published my first novel in September, and the second novel in the series is getting ready to release in April here. It's imminent. And so myself right now is kind of creatively frantic.
Yeah,
I am frenetic.
I feel it over here.
I'm doing all the things
Oh my gosh, and more.
and more.
Let's start with book coaching. How did you get into book coaching?
So I worked for a while. I kind of came in through the side door, the side entrance. I came out of high tech. I did web design
Mm.
for years and years and years, and I worked originally with large corporations, but way back in the late '90s, building call center systems
Oh,
for intranets. That was not very creative.
yeah.
But so eventually I started moving my business towards tech support for the writing industry because I'd always wanted to be involved with writers and writing. When I graduated from school, it wasn't really a thing.
Right.
Um, so I had to find another way to like make a living, right? So, and eventually what ended up happening is I was doing websites for small businesses and editors and agents, and I was more involved in the traditional side of publishing, how people think of like, the larger the publishing houses. And so that I wasn't but I always had my eye on self-publishing because I was waiting. I knew something exciting was happening. I wasn't at a point then where I could really like dive into it. So I came in with technology, and then I started working with an editor and doing edits, helping writers with their manuscripts and editing their manuscripts. But it wasn't really all that satisfying
Mm.
because it was really editing is more of a you send me your book, I look at your book, I write down all the things that are wrong with it, and then I send it back to you. And that's just
Like sad.
yeah, I have a master's in teaching. I've taught, and I just, it's that one shot kind of opportunity to work with somebody once is not enough for a transformation. You
I
don't get
agree.
the transformation working with them when it's just like, here is 30 pages of everything that I have found. Now go away and fix it. And usually what happens is they go away and have a panic attack and like never look at the document again, and that's it.
And that's
So
not conducive.
for the creative, it's heartbreaking, right? Because as an editor, you've been hired to find what's wrong.
Yeah.
So, and for the writer, it's like you're really just seeing all the things that I have done wrong with this piece that I've put my soul into,
Oh,
and it can be very soul crushing.
yes.
So I didn't like that method of working with writers or creatives, and so I was raised by a father who was an athletic coach,
Mm,
and he taught soccer and he taught fencing. And so he had the mind of a coach. And I was like, there has got to be something out here. Like, there has got to be a way that I can work with writers that is like teaching and coaching and helping them with writing.
yeah.
And book coaching just happens to be that. And so I found that it gives me like the best of all worlds. I
Mhm.
get to work with amazing creatives. I get to I get to work with them over a period of time. I get to help them. I get to build them up, and I'm not breaking hearts.
Yes. Yeah. And all told, I was a client of yours, and we can talk more about that later. And you were amazing. Really, what you did for me is two things. You were my biggest cheerleader, and I needed it, and I'm not gonna even be shy about that for a second because it really worked. You were incredible. And the other thing is you kept me on track as far as dates. And as long as I pretty much did what you told me to do, it worked out great, Like I actually had to do the work, but if I
Yeah,
listened to you, then it was perfect.
yeah, and and I have found that for a lot of writers, especially women writers, um, we there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of uncertainty. And while a lot of my work is like with the writing, it's like you say, a lot of it is being a cheerleader.
Yeah.
A lot, because a lot of writers, a lot of creators want to be validated through an industry experience, because
Mm,
that's they're looking for that validation that what they're doing is right, correct, worthwhile, all the things, right?
yep.
And I found that a lot of what I do is really getting creatives to understand that what they're doing is a good thing. It's a
Yeah.
powerful thing. It's and for women to be able to, take their voices and know that your story has meaning, your story has power. Whatever you're writing, there are people out there that want it.
Hmm.
And being able to help writers with that is like, it's a calling for me. I mean, I feel
Yes.
really strongly about this because creatives don't get that in a lot of places. Especially, we live in a society that is very much like you have to be the starving artist, the struggling artist, the failure artist. And I don't believe any of that. And so,
Yes, and valuing the creativity to where like yes, support, funding, it's like, oh, art I just read a few things on Instagram, something like, oh, art's not there just to look pretty. It's actually there to say something.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I think, and it's like with your project, I have found your collage project with poetry and art.
Mhm.
Um, it's just like being able to help you in a way that I know the traditional the that traditional space is in writing
Mhm.
is going to be soul crushing. And it's, I talked about watching self-publishing, and I think we're at a golden age of self-publishing, because we're at this place where you can write something and it can look just as good as something that has been traditionally published.
If
You
not better.
If not better. Exactly. Your art, your words, your poetry can compete in the same space as what we consider traditional
Yeah.
publishing.
Yes.
And and as a book coach, I get to decide who I want to work with. I mean, it's my business, right? I can decide whoever it is. And like when you came to me with your project, I could see a place for it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I could see the power in it, and I could see it how it could exist.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to worry about, well, is an agent going to want it? Is a publishing house going to? There's none of that. It's like you go directly to the audience. You go directly to your readers,
Yes.
and you can walk in and say, "I have value. My work has value. You want it. Here it is."
It's so interesting because it's like the idea of, art not just being for the chosen
Yes.
or elite or however you
Yes.
want to say that. It's like, no, anyone can do this.
Anybody.
Anyone.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just feel like so grateful to have the opportunity to work with creatives, whether they're writers or artists or both or whatever, helping them not only see their own power, but help translate that power to other people who want that power as well,
Yeah,
who
and
want to
that's the
feel
whole
that.
point.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like
yeah,
telling your story, setting an example. That's what I did it for. I
yeah.
healed myself through writing the book, and then maybe it will help other people. And that is some feedback I've gotten, you know?
Yeah, well, I don't. I thought don't say maybe because I mean it's not. I know it's helping people,
Yeah.
and the beautiful and kind of the sad thing about it is you know you're helping people, but you may not never ever know who. I was looking at a book that was one of my father's books from forever. It has to be like 100-year-old book, right? And I look at this and I think, when this individual wrote this, did they have any idea that 100 years down the line, somebody would be sitting here looking at their words and thinking about their words
Yeah.
and what their words mean?
Yes.
And that writer has no, that writer's been dead forever, right? I mean, so
Yes.
we have no idea how far we're going to travel and the legacy that we leave in these things we create.
That's true.
And and there's a lot of power in that.
Hmm. I'll never forget you showing me just a small aside. As you know, when I brought you my idea and you were like, you need to lean more into who you are as an artist and make it an art piece and it doesn't not linear, not black and white. I was like, oh my gosh, you're giving me permission, literally, you know? And
Yeah,
you showed
yeah.
me this book that had typeface, and I don't remember what it was, but just as an example from your library, it had typeface going like a wave, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just like, and I'm thinking about, I have this conversation with particular clients, writers a lot, is take the wheels off, get out,
Yeah.
start off-roading, get off the freeway.
Yeah.
Everybody's driving to the city and you're stuck in traffic. Get out of the lines, go over the edge of the road and head off into the wilderness, because right now, in a world where there is so much being said,
Mm.
so much being regurgitated,
Mhm.
it's your voice as Juliet, it's everybody's voice, the individual voice that makes the noise.
Yeah.
That's what we are hearing. That's what people are craving.
I love it. Authenticity.
Yes.
Um, so real quick, and I know we kind of touched on this, but with book coaching, what does a book coach do? Give me a little edification.
Well, for me it's really working it's really working with the whole writer,
Mm,
because I find it's not just about, okay, we've got 6 months. This month we're doing this. Next month we're doing that, and eventually we're going to get to this. For me, it's not a linear process,
right.
and I think every book coach is going to have a little bit of a different answer to this. But
Mm,
for me, it's, I meet the writer where the writer is with what the writer needs. And my goal is to help that writer write the very best whatever it is that they're working on, and then get it published and out into the world. So,
yes.
and so for me, it's like I can work with the client who's like, I have this idea that I want to write the new Tolkien or whatever, or I want to write, a collage poetry book,
Yeah.
or and then it's like, okay, how do we do this?
Hmm.
And then it's, and a lot of that can sometimes be helping the writer, the mind of the writer, with
Yes.
how to get there,
I
because
remember
yeah.
one thing that you taught me was this is just like a basic first step. I said I had my scrapbook with the handwriting, and you just said, well, type it out. And I was like, oh, duh. You know, so that's what I did, just those basic, like, start here, little bites.
Yeah, because for me, when I work with somebody, they they take up storage space in my head. I only work one on one with clients
Yeah.
because I really do become the the guide or the what however to that individual, because it's way more important to me to help that person get where they need to get. And
Yeah.
so when I'm working with somebody, when I'm working with you, Juliet has a corner of my mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I think whatever Juliet needs in this moment to help her get this project finished
Yeah.
is how I'm going to work with Juliet. And
Mm.
so it goes beyond like just editorial checking things,
Yeah, way beyond. I
way
mean, my
beyond.
yeah,
Yeah,
my book was short, so that was easy peasy, but that's almost aside from what you do, the
yeah,
editing piece.
yeah. Because I help authors publish.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I've taken multiple authors through how do I actually like publish this book? How do I self-publish this book?
Yeah.
What does self-publishing look like? Let's go through it from the very technical side of, or the tactical side of, you put your book on Amazon, what buttons do you push? What things do you fill out? To the strategic side of, am I self-publishing, traditional publishing, hybrid publishing, and what does that look like? So
Hmm.
I'm like a book coach of all trades, the Renaissance book coach.
Yes, and getting people to, I mean, my project was done in 6 months, which is,
Yeah,
I think, pretty epic.
it
Yeah.
is. It's totally epic. Yeah, and I have some writers that it takes longer.
Hmm.
Um, and it like so it really say it's less. I was talking to somebody about this because they wanted to know like what genres do I work with, and I said it's not about the genre, it's about the writer. So for
Mm.
me, it's really about who am I helping and what do they need and can I help them? And
Yes. Are
yeah,
we a good fit? Kind of a thing. Yeah.
exactly. Because this is writing a book is really hard work emotionally and mentally, and it's respecting and acknowledging from my part how hard the writer's working. And
Yeah.
can the writer do the work?
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
think a lot of people come into it not really understanding what they're undertaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That
that you have to like basically, do it. I feel like it has to be a thing that you would do whether you made a penny or not. It's not about
right.
monetizing it. It's really about, do I love it this much, you know?
Yeah. Do I love it so much that if I have to stop doing it, it's gonna like ruin me?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And do I love it so much that I would do it for free and I would stay up all night and,
Yep. Yep.
not eat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That I would miss a family vacation, that I would like not go and do like the movies or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Not to say that you have to like struggle and give up your entire life, but you're basically, when you're writing a book and you're self-publishing, and I would argue this is even true about traditional publishing, but it is really true about self-publishing, you're starting a business.
Exactly.
You're
Oh,
starting a
that's
small
good.
business.
Yeah.
And a lot of writers just think they're writing a book.
Mm,
And they don't realize that no, you now own a business. You have built and created a product. And
yes.
you want to sell that product to an audience and to a market. And
Yep.
that means that you are now on a hamster wheel in this business, whether you're writing books or making biscuits or sewing suits or whatever you're doing, you are putting a product out into the world.
And you are a brand. I mean, that
Ex-
is like, wowza. So you're basically developing a whole brand and supporting it. Like, it's
Yeah.
no joke.
It is no joke.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just like, well, I just want to write a book. And it's like, yeah, okay, if you want to write a book, that's fabulous. Write. If you don't want to publish, that's great. Write your books. There's no judgment on somebody who doesn't want to take a
Totally.
product to market. But
Totally.
for the person who really wants to like become a bestseller, who
Mhm.
wants to retire on a book or wants to, who has big dreams, those dreams, and there's a lot of sacrifice involved. It's a
Yes,
lot
and
of
they,
hard work and sacrifice.
making more books. So on that note, let's talk about your books. Let's start from the beginning. Okay, tell me about your book and how it all started.
Ah,
We
how it all started. I was 8 years old.
don't have that much time. Just kidding.
um, I have been writing forever and ever. I have always written. I have always wanted to write. Um, even when I was doing high tech, even when I was at school, even when I was I have always written, and I wrote fan fiction. I If I could write it, I would write it.
Oh,
I have like, oh my God, I have so many novels and so many things started. I have always been writing. And as I mentioned earlier, I've been watching self-publishing,
yeah.
and I knew that's where I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to self-publish, but
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to wait until the the infrastructure of self-publishing caught up to the ideas I was having.
Yes.
Because I have been like, I have thoughts. And so and so I've been waiting for this moment. I was mentioning to you before we talked that we're at a place now that I really see as a golden age
Mhm.
of self-publishing. And I really think it's a golden age for creators of
Yeah.
any kind, but especially in self-publishing, it's the possibilities, the infrastructure exists to go so far and above and beyond what we've
Yes.
been doing
Yes.
that there really is no limitation.
Yeah.
And so the individual writer can just like take off and start running.
It's first of all, it's affordable. It's
Yes.
very accessible. It's
Yes.
it's fast. I'll just say
Yeah.
it that way. And you can do color, quality. I mean, the options are what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, the options are unlimited, really.
Totally. And so I knew that at some point this alignment of the planets was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I've been, working with writers. I've been very aware of the industry. I've been watching and seeing what's happening. And I had another book, a whole other series I was working on. And when I mentioned earlier that writers have to like get out of the traffic jam and get off the road and head off into the wilderness, my book, the other series I had, was part of the traffic jam. And I
Ah.
knew that book, as much as I loved it, I knew it did not have the voice that I needed
Mhm.
to really break beyond the traffic jam.
Yes.
I would say last year, oh, maybe the end of 2003, I kind of had this idea I was noodling around with.
Mhm.
And my big idea was Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets the Golden Girls.
Yes.
Because as a consumer, or as, a person who really loves stories, I always feel like so many stories end right when it gets interesting.
Yeah.
And and as a woman who's not 20 anymore, I loved Buffy when it came out, but
Yeah.
as a woman who's not 20 anymore, surprise,
Mhm.
um, I was like, so what happens? You're
Yeah.
20, and then what? You just like disappear?
You
I mean,
just are like, yeah, you just shrivel up.
right, exactly. For a woman, you get beyond like 25 or 30 and it's sort of like your chopped liver, right? I mean, and as a woman who's a mother, as your children start leaving home, I'm not a mother, but I see this as women whose children start leaving home, you get to be in about in your 40s, your mid 40s, and suddenly it's like, okay, now who am I?
Yeah.
What is my place in society?
Hmm.
Where do I fit in? And I was like, okay, so you're this badass at 20 who's like stopping the apocalypse and doing all this stuff. Well, what happens at 40 and 50? Do
Yeah.
you just like go to the old folks home? I
Yeah.
mean,
Out
where do you
past your,
go, right?
yeah.
and I'm a Gen Xer, right? So there's a certain amount of like rebellion and, flipping the bird to
Badassery.
exactly, flip the bird to society, right? And I'm like, okay, this doesn't this is doing me all wrong.
Yeah.
And so it was about the end of 23, the beginning of 24. My protagonist, Meg Walker, came stomping into my head in her Doc Martens
Ooh.
and her ripped up jeans at 40 something years old and going, I used to be the chosen one was I was 20
Mm.
and I screwed up and I'm 40 now and I'm being called back to fix it.
Ooh.
And so I have this series about these women in their 40s.
I love
And
it.
really, it's the supernatural elements in the because I'm writing urban fantasy
Hmm.
because again, the Buffy side of it, the 20-year-old in hot leather and like the corset and whatever is like now 40 years old and is not in a corset
Yeah.
and has lived a life and has had relationships and has
Ooh.
screwed up and has done all of the things and has all the baggage.
Yep.
And so I wrote book one in about 6 weeks last year because, like we said, when you are driven, you don't go on vacation. You don't, I mean, this book has just been writing itself.
Yes,
And
yes.
I'm really writing a love letter through this book to the women of my generation and the 40-year-old women. And I'm saying, you're still a badass.
Yes, we
You
were the
absolute,
ones.
yeah,
I
you,
see your posts on Instagram. We were the ones who, like, we'd walk home by ourselves, through the city and fix ourselves dinner or a snack. I mean, we'd stay out all day. Nobody knew where we were. It didn't
yeah,
matter. We were okay. But,
yeah.
yeah, no, don't mess with
And
us.
yeah, and society would say as women get older, they become invisible.
Hmm.
And I'm basically saying, screw that.
I love
You're
it.
not invisible. You in fact are more powerful than ever at 40
Yeah.
because you have the experience, you have the understanding, you've lived a life, you are becoming something that actually is more terrifying to society than you were at 20. I mean,
I
be-
love this. You have brains, you have experience, you have no fear,
exactly.
you have credit cards. I mean, come on.
Exactly. And so this, yeah, so my book, The Hellgate Chronicles, is the series, and it is my love letter to the middle-aged woman who's still a badass.
Oh my.
And
So you hear that, audience? Everybody go get this book and these books because wow.
the second book comes out here in a couple of weeks, and I am having so much fun because it's really, a lot of urban fantasy becomes about romance,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
when you're 20 something, the plot or the story becomes about finding your soulmate, being the one, finding the one.
Yeah.
And I'm turning that on its head in this because I'm really writing about friendship among women. And I
Oh, I
think
love
it's
it.
one of the things that we don't get as much of, to see like three really strong or four or five really strong women who are tight and
Yeah.
are the ride or die for each other in a way that you don't really get at 20.
Yeah, and it's not valued as a storyline, if you will. It's not among the loves or relationships. It's not valued really where it should be.
Yeah, yeah. So I am having a hell of a good time,
Oh,
like playing in this world, and I'm building a universe. And like I said, the technology is not only in the books themselves, but the websites. I'm creating immersive storytelling. I'm working on artwork. I am just at a space um where it's all in this alignment for me, and I totally went off the road. I
you're like gone.
shifted into four-wheel drive and took off.
Oh my God. I love it. Let's talk about that. So, in this podcast, we talk about following your dreams and what is your dream and, if you're not doing it, what took you over the edge. But what I'm finding is most of the people that I interview, they are living their dreams. Not to say they might not have other things that they want to do with their life, other dreams, but the piece I want to talk about is the following joy, because this is what I want to learn. Tell me about how you started following your joy, and instead of, I should do this to make money, or I should be doing this, how did you follow your joy, and what does that feel like as an author and as a person?
Um, well, so I would say when I was in college, I did art school, so I went to art school. I did traditional medium oil painting. I was gonna go. My dream was going and being a cover artist for Dungeons and Dragons at TSR.
Wow.
That's what that was the dream. And then it's like, okay, so I'm a girl. It's the 80s. It's gonna be the 90s. Yeah, that's really not gonna happen.
Oh,
Um, and so I was really into computers. I was totally into, my dad was very much into computers and he got me into computers, and I loved computers. And then so I got out of high school. I went to art school for a year. I went to film school because
mm,
I wanted to do film. And so I did, I was very much on this art path.
yeah.
And I came back and I was like, yeah, I have seen the side of the art world that I do not want to participate in.
Oh, there's an
It's like
ugly side.
I was 20 something and I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I taught myself how to code because that was starting to come up. I did not want to become an editor and run off to New York because I knew it was not going to be a Hollywood movie experience of being an editor in New York. And I needed something that I could do and that I enjoyed. And I loved the creative side of building websites because there was back then the designer was the coder, was the programmer, was the project manager, was the everything. We
Yes,
had
it was deep.
yeah, so so my skill set went really deep and I loved the creative side of building websites and I
Mm,
loved the problem solving of it.
yeah.
So turned I turned my professional self away from the arts
Mm,
and I went
gotcha.
into like high tech. But at night I was still painting, I was still writing, I was still doing all of those things
Mm,
because I knew at some point I would be at a place where I could like go back, I could go back to it.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
and I just so I would say in 99 the company I worked in a dot-com bubble in Seattle, and the mythological dot-com bubble in Seattle, the
I
bobble.
was part of it too.
You were part of it too. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And the company I was working for imploded,
Mm,
and I went contract I started doing contract work.
ah,
And so then I started owning my own business. So in 99 I owned my own business and I went feral. I can't go back in and I said I went off-roading and for that direction. I think I've pretty much been sort of off-roading along this whether periods of my life I come close to the interstate and then go away from and I kind of come back and then go away again.
yeah.
So yeah, so I needed a job that made money. And
Mm,
so I went into high tech and was coding.
mm,
But I didn't want to stay there. My
yeah.
goal was to never stay there. And so owning a business was great fun. And then I got a master's in teaching. And
Mm.
then my mom and I started a wedding flower
Oh
business
my word.
because I needed the creativity. I
Yes.
needed the color. I needed the creation. And it was when I started writing last year, and when I started book coaching, I really feel like I'm finally 40 some, I'm 50, I'm going to be 53. I'm 40 some odd years coming back into I'm getting to like do what I've dreamt about doing for so long.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
that's yeah, and so I think I've I'm finally coming back around to I don't think I never gave up the dream. I never feel like I turned my back on it. I just felt like it was simmering. It was on the
so
back burner.
yeah, so many people never take the leap, so many people are too scared because they want quote unquote security, so I'm just curious, like, I mean, I know you always saw it from, the love of writing and creativity from when you were young, but, how did you have faith that it would all work out?
Because I don't know if it's faith that it will all work out or the belief in myself that if it doesn't, I can still go forward to the next thing.
Yes.
I mean, I have like started and I mean they talk about failing forward. I think that's like one of the new catchphrases. And I have failed so many times forward that it's sort of like, okay, if this doesn't work out, okay, I'll do something else. It's
Yes.
it's not that I put everything into I have complete faith in this series. I have complete faith in this book. I have complete faith in this job or and my book coaching. It's like, okay, I've got 5 books in this series planned, and I may get to the 5th book and be like, well, okay, that was a bust, but I had a hell of a good time doing it.
Yes.
um and
I
then I'll
think
do the
it's
next
like,
thing.
we get to a point in life where we have nothing to lose. We're like, what is the worst that could happen? Really?
Really, what's the worst thing that could happen is that I never do anything
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm too
Yeah.
afraid to do it. That's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah,
I
that you
mean,
never take a chance.
that you never take a chance because at some point you at some point I look around the world and I say, if these people are doing it, why can't I do it?
Exactly.
I mean, and I think of and again, as women, it's really easy to be afraid. It's
Yeah.
really easy to want to be okay, to want to be safe. I mean, I think that way all the time. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, well, it'd be so much easier if. God, now I have to worry about like 1-star reviews. Now I have to worry about blah blah. It's like, okay, well, the person who writes you the 1-star review is not going to show up on your doorstep with a baseball bat.
No.
I and at some point I start thinking about, okay, what's the worst thing that's happened in my life? A 1-star review is not going to be anywhere near that thing.
Yeah.
So why am I not doing something that I love, that I want to do, that I am called to do, that
Exactly.
I am passionate to do? Because I'm afraid that some schmuck in like Minnesota is going to be mad.
So I'm so glad you said that because I've had this experience recently. I'll try to keep it very high level, but I've been doing a lot of things lately. I've been putting myself out there in ways I've never done before. I've been very brave for, if we were to measure my bravo meter in life, book, podcast, start a business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, that said, like there's that quote that Brene Brown, I think I've talked about this in the podcast before, but Brene Brown, the Theodore Roosevelt quote, about, being in the ring and, people are going to comment. But if you're not in the ring with me, don't say anything, like you don't have the right to. But I'm just like, okay, well, I'm getting all this sort of advice and I'm getting all these comments or, what have you. And I said to my friend, I was like, oh, I must be doing something right because I'm kind of rocking some boats.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
okay. That's a good thing.
I mean, there's so many rich things in what you just said. And, at this point, I'm going to be 53.
Mm,
Maybe I have 30 years.
yeah,
Fuck anybody who doesn't like what I'm doing.
exactly.
I mean, it's like I'm not competing with them or trying to make them happy. I'm competing with the fact that life is so short.
Yes.
And I've there's so many things I want to do that it's just like I'm not going to let somebody stop me because they don't like what I'm doing. I'm sorry if you don't like what I'm doing, but too bad.
Too bad. Just look away.
Yeah, exactly. Then don't pay attention to what I'm doing. It's like
Exactly. There's
there's a
other
lot of other
things.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a mortality. Time is finite.
Yes. And you and I talked about this the last time we met in person at Village Books. Like, I just realized after that third, brick on the head, like, oh, you have breast cancer. Like, oh, shoot, I better get on with it. Like, so I've been trying to, like I told my doctor, cram it in. Like and what I mean by that is I'm gonna do what I want, when I want, how I want, as much as I can until the wheels fall off because I could get hit by a truck tomorrow. I mean, I don't know.
And I really truly believe that's why we're here.
Mhm. Yeah.
If we're not here to sit in the back row and sleep.
Yes,
I mean, it's
exactly.
like I feel like if there is a calling in us to do anything, we need to do it
Yeah. Yeah.
because we got one shot on the wheel.
Yeah.
And then whatever you think happens next, we will only be in this moment right now, and we weren't where we were just 5 minutes ago.
Exactly.
And I think we lose sight of that as we run from like constant stimulation that we can sleepwalk through our lives.
Oh, yes. And we can distract. That is one of my biggest things. It's like I could spend 90 years distracting myself from what is the real deal going on in here? What do you
Right,
want to do? Or
right.
who are you?
Yeah, and how many years? I mean, I can think of times in my life where I was sleepwalking. I
Oh,
can think
yeah.
of times of my life where, I was distracted.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I've done that. Been there, done that. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
But now it's like I've got the world wants us to say things. The world wants us to be here to do things.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like really strongly about do them.
It sounds like what your message, what you're saying right now is very in line with the book series that you're writing.
Oh,
You like that?
absolutely. Well, and it's one of the things that makes the writing simple. It makes the marketing simple because I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying with the book. I know what I'm saying with myself. I know what I'm saying with my brand. It,
Yes.
I mean, it makes it all so much clearer, and I know who exactly I'm saying it to.
And you're not replicating something that's been done a million times. So it's like you're not trying to like, ooh, is this gonna fly? Will I make money? That kind of thing.
Yeah, right now I'm not making any money, but like I said, I'm having a hell of a good time. I
And
mean, it's
that's
like,
more important.
yeah, that's priceless. Um,
Exactly.
because I mean, I think about this. Is it stressful? Yes. Am I frantic? Yes. I am having so much ridiculous
Oh,
fun with it. I mean, it's
I love
like
it.
I I sit here, Juliet, and I cackle. I just sit. When I was little, my dad used to sit. I had it's really funny because I had a basement bedroom then too. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of like I've never gotten out of the basement. I'm in the basement now. But my dad used to sit at the top of this or stand up at the top of the stairs and laugh because he could hear me downstairs in the basement laughing as I wrote or I drew or whatever. And they're like, oh, she's down there with her friends in the basement. And so I feel like I'm 10 again. I feel like
Oh,
I've like having that just how lucky am I to be at a point where I'm just like I am so ridiculously having so much fun with all of this.
And if you look at it as, and this is something one of my last guests, Rihanna, and I talked about the joy account versus the money account. You know, if you look at your joy account, it's getting pretty full. I mean, that's
Yeah.
hello, you know.
I am a bazillionaire in my Joy account right now.
See,
Some,
I love it.
somebody asked, what is your goal? What will be your measure of success for your writing? If somebody dresses like one of my characters and goes to Comic-Con and tags me in an Instagram post,
That is the
I've
pinnacle.
made it.
Winning an
I have
Oscar.
made it.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
That's I can die happy. Oh my God, it will just be like if someone that is like the pinnacle.
Oh, I'm gonna do it just to like make you, yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God, it's just like if somebody cosplays one of my characters, I will just be like giddy.
That is it. Hear that, readers. Hear that. Oh my God. So, okay, let's walk through because we're gonna wrap up on time a little bit here. Just walk me through your books, the titles and the series, where they can be found and all of that wonderful stuff.
Okay, so the series is the Hellgate Chronicles, and the first book is Reunion, and you can find it on Amazon under my name, Jocelyn Lindsay, and Reunion. And the
Awesome.
second book is Reverie, which is coming out here the 3rd of April.
Oh
And
my God.
you can also find me at my website, which is jocelynlindsayauthor.com.
And I'll put
That's
that
on
in
my
the show
right.
notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my writing website. You can find me everywhere as Jocelyn Lindsay, pretty much, and it's either going to be my book coaching or my authoring, and you'll find me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much everywhere.
Yes, you are, as you should be.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners?
I'm having a hell of a good time writing my newsletter. Come join
Oh,
my newsletter because
oh,
oh my God, my newsletter is so much fun. And
okay.
one of the things I want to do, which I'm really excited about, is I want to start I started this and I started it too early. But there's a character. If you go to my newsletter, you can sign up for my reader magnet, which is a novella,
Oh
and
yeah.
it takes place in the 70s, and it's about a woman who is having a hard time being an anthropologist in the male world of the 70s,
Oh my.
and she's investigating like supernatural occurrences and things, and her name is Diana. And one of the things I want to do with my newsletter list is start a sub list that are emails from Diana. I
Oh,
started writing them, and they're in character emails that are going to go to a group within my email list.
oh
So
my
it's
gosh.
whole other, like I talked about, like immersive worlds. This is like one of my projects is like Diana's dispatches. I'm putting together like her field notes. And so you're getting like in that email, you're gonna in that subscription, you're gonna get like emails from her about the things she's doing
Yes.
on the world and the characters and the stuff from her whole perspective, written in her perspective, like she's sending you emails.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I love it so much. So everybody go to Jocelyn's website. Again, I'll put it in the show notes, all the info and sign up for her newsletter because wowza, this sounds amazing. I mean, future project, but the more I've learned is building your brand, the more followers, if you will, or people that sign up for your newsletter, the better because then everybody can just stay in the know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't you want to just share what you're doing with everybody?
Yes.
You want to share the fun. You want to share the cackle. You want to share the joy.
I love it so much. Well, this has been amazing, and I could talk to you, especially about books and everything all day. Um, but we're going to do a little bonus moment after this. And Jocelyn, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Juliet. You are just like a spark of joy in your life.
Ah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.